again, and thanks for joining us for the second video we have created to make up our induction for volunteers and staff at Georges River Life Church and Georges River Life Care. This second video is for everyone in leadership and discipleship serving roles, such as small group leaders, River Kids and youth leaders. So if that is not you, or you are a River Kids leader and under the age of 18, please go to the other variation of this video titled 2B, Serve Level. In this video, we seek to help you understand the process of becoming a volunteer and what is required from you. This is a new process for many of us, and we understand it might feel like a lot. But remember, the recruitment of safe volunteers and leaders is a really important part of our Safe Church policy that works to ensure we are adopting the child safe standards. It's likely if you're watching this video, it's because you've already showed interest to serve, which is awesome. Your ministry leader is then required to give you a position description of the role that you will be doing. They will also be the one to point you in the direction of completing the following things. These are online and are available through our website. The first is this induction video, which obviously you've already started. The second is the screening questionnaire form. And the third is the code of conduct form. Let's hear a little more about these two forms that you will be required to fill out before you start the role.
Well, hi again. I'd like to take another moment now to provide some additional comments around the first form that you will complete, the screening questionnaire. This form, it feels serious and it feels intense, and you'll be surprised maybe about some of the questions that are asked in it. You may think, what, don't they trust me? Or why do they need to know that when I'm just making coffees and parking cars? I understand why you could react that way to some of these questions. So let me just give you some context that might help you understand the why behind this form and the kinds of questions that it is asking. Firstly, the screening questionnaire is one element in the suite of new policies and practices that organisations such as churches and clubs and associations are being required to implement. It represents really a massive cultural and operational change for thousands of organisations like us. And while some will take longer to get up to speed, we and all Baptist churches in New South Wales are committed to being early adopters and cooperating with our state and our federal authorities in this, which, I might add, is a biblical and appropriate response to this. Also, like schools, churches in Australia now have a legal requirement to collect, to store, and in some cases mandatorily report certain information pertaining to their people who are volunteering. Reporting is mainly associated with information that we may obtain about child abuse. Now, we've already been doing that for years with ministries that directly interact with children and youth. But what's really changed in this landscape of safety is that now that practice has been widened to include all volunteers regardless of their role, whether it's car park or kids. It makes no difference to the government. I guess you could say what the government is doing is that they're treating all people as equally significant to the health and the safety of that organisation. So the screening questionnaires asks personal but really important questions which establish up front whether we should have any concerns about a person or whether they will need specific support in their role. Listen, it's not a test. You don't have to have a perfect pass. None of us do. But you do need to be honest and vulnerable, which I know can be confronting. Look, if there is a question that you have answered yes to, don't assume it somehow disqualifies you from serving. It may simply mean that we meet with you and have a chat about it to ensure that you're safe and that you're supported in your role. Now, you also need to know that we take your privacy very seriously today. The information that we capture in this form is really locked down and accessible by a handful of people in our Safe Church team. Not even your ministry leader will see the form. You will have the opportunity to then determine who gets this information. When you fill this form out online, you will see an explanation of the process, of where your information goes and the options that you have of who can see it. And lastly, if you're unsure of any question, of what it exactly means, or you're nervous of the implications of one of your answers, please don't let that become a barrier. If you feel comfortable, come and talk to your ministry leader, or come and talk to another pastor or member of staff. We would love to have a confidential chat with you about it. Okay? So again, thanks so much for partnering with us and for your understanding as we go through this process together. Thanks so much. Bye.
Hi everyone, my name is Ben Rusin and I'm the Chipping Norton site pastor here at Georges River Life Church. Today I'm here to chat to you about the second form for you to complete, the Code of Conduct. And we have two different kinds of Code of Conducts. One is for those in leadership roles, which if you're watching this, that's you, and one is for those serving in all other roles. The Code of Conduct outlines what you are committing to by being a volunteer here at Georges River Life Church and seeks to ensure you know the values and beliefs that we hold and therefore what our staff and volunteers aim to hold as well. It honours the fact that you will be a representative of our church and or life care with influence over others, and therefore your behaviour as a leader is instrumental in us upholding our safe church policy and our commitment to creating safe environments for everyone we come in contact with. It is important that you read it carefully as you fill out the questions and the different statements, as by filling it out and signing it, you are saying that you agree and commit to all that was stated and will be held accountable to them in your serving teams. I'm not going to go through it question by question, as it is all laid out online clearly, but let me share the main categories that you will find in the different commitment statements. As a leader and or someone in a discipleship ministry, your Code of Conduct asks you to honour and live out the church values and the faith-filled lifestyle of a disciple. Whereas the Serving Code of Conduct allows for people to commit to honouring the church values whilst they may still be discovering faith for themselves. Let me go through it a little bit more. The leader level Code of Conduct first and foremost asks you to commit to being intentional in your own discipleship, as we believe that we cannot be great leaders in our church without first being a disciple of Jesus. This looks like a commitment to Jesus in your own personal rhythms and life, as well as a commitment and love for Jesus' church and loving your church family well. This commitment to discipleship also looks like a commitment to seeing Jesus' kingdom in all areas of your life, which are presented as behavioural standards and lifestyle choices. These are related to the way that you will act in when you are serving, but also in your whole life outside of where you serve or lead. The Code of Conduct covers your whole life, not just when you are serving. So there are commitments to see healthy family relationships, developing your character to become more and more like Jesus, how you work in a team with others, how you use your finances, how you'll express your sexuality and purity, and how you treat everyone with the dignity and respect that Jesus also has for them. The Code of Conduct also asks you to uphold and support our safe church policy, which you heard all about in this video already. It asks you to uphold a commitment to good communication, to not use your place of power to hurt or abuse others, to do your best to follow the processes that we have put in place for creating safe environments, such as how we deal with conflict and how we deal with complaints and how we work through and prioritize risk management. It also reminds you of our legal requirements, that if a complaint is made against you while you are serving, whether it be child sexual abuse or sexual misconduct, then the church needs to report that information to any relevant government authorities and will ask you to step aside from your duties while that complaint is being considered. Our code of conduct is about being clear with our expectations. And so if, for any reason, you were to do something that does not align with your commitment in your code of conduct, your ministry leader has the responsibility to chat to you about that. Now, this is not about getting into trouble or a view that everyone can always hold these commitments fully or being perfect, and it doesn't mean that you can no longer serve either. Instead, we see it as an opportunity for you to grow in your discipleship, to invite accountability into your desire to wholeheartedly follow Jesus. This is not about perfection, but seeing our commitment as a leader as something worth fighting for and protecting. And lastly, similar to the ministry screening questionnaire, if you're unsure of any statement in this code, what it exactly means, or feel you cannot commit to one, please don't let that become a barrier that stops you from serving without letting people know. We would love for you to come and talk to us or your prospective ministry leader or staff member, or whoever you feel comfortable with, who would love to have a coffee and chat it out with you.
So that was our first 2 steps of the process to serve. 1, interest, and 2, induction and forms. So once you've completed this induction and those forms, if you are a new leader, you will be needed to do an interview with your ministry leader. Now this can look different depending on the role, but for you guys who are in leadership and discipleship-based ministries, this interview will be face-to-face and gives your ministry leader the opportunity to get to know you more about your faith journey, about your passions and gifts, and gives you the opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. So as mentioned in our first video, you will then be required to have a ministry induction. And this is where ministry leaders will give you any information related to your particular role. Now this is often done with others you are serving with, like in our termly small group leaders meetings. And finally, the last step for those in leadership and discipleship is creating Safe Spaces workshop. This involves 2 training modules. The first is a 2 to 3 hour online workshop produced by the Baptist Association. And this must be done before you begin serving. The second is a 3-hour interactive workshop that runs on Zoom or face-to-face, and you have 9 months to complete this after you begin serving. Our Safe Church admin team and your ministry leaders will keep in touch with you about upcoming workshops and remind you to complete that last step. So that's the 5-step process for you to serve, which is managed both by the Safe Church team and your ministry leader. This process can be found on the website, but of course, always ask your ministry leader if you have any questions. Thanks again for your desire to serve at Georges River Life Church and Georges River Life Care and commit to this process. Please now complete the online quiz so we know that you have done this induction video. Thanks.